From the Fox Business Network, and Mitch Rochelle. He's a partner and business development leader at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, of course. Susan, so when business people woke up this morning, they saw that there were all these other developments across the world.
Yeah, Italy had 7 deaths now. That was reported in the last few hours. South Korea has 7 deaths. Iran has at least 12. And you have 50,000 being quarantined near Milan during Fashion Week, mind you. And so that's going to have an impact across the entire global economy. And that's why investors thought, okay, maybe this is not contained. Maybe we don't have all the information. And you're looking at this 900-point drop, which is huge, but compared to others that we've seen over just in the last few years, and mind you, the Dow has also risen during that time, right? And it's up to 28,000 levels, so we're playing with bigger numbers. So you saw a 1,000-point drop back in 2018.
I remember 1,000-point drops in 2008, and they're not fun to deal with, but it does come back. But here, in this economy, it can come back pretty quickly. But Mitch, can you give us a real-world example of how this could affect consumers? I was reading today about one of the factories that makes BMWs and the car parts in China. It's been closed for weeks.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we talk about is supply chain, which is a term that I don't think means much to the average consumer. But if you're buying a car and you're waiting for it and half of the parts come from China, you'd be surprised where else in Asia they may come from. And that part manufacturer A has to give it to part manufacturer B, and they can't get one to the other. That means you're not getting your car.
Yeah, just take a look at this, some of the stats I compiled for you, Dana. So China is, of course, a huge part of the supply chain. In fact, I would say still probably the factory floor to virtually every industry. So they make 70% of the shoes sold in the U.S., 40% of the imported apparel here in the U.S., not to mention the technology as well, putting together more than 50% of iPhones. Yeah, pharmaceuticals, 150 prescription drugs might be impacted because of coronavirus as well.
But if you think about a car like an American car and you think it's American, in fact, the fact of the matter is so many of those parts are not made here, and components of other parts are not made here. So that's why it impacts the consumer.
And so what can China do then to try to stop? Because what's the saying? If China sneezes, the world gets a cold.
Yes.
So everybody is going to feel this effect. Is China competent enough and capable enough? Can they do enough to try to have pro-growth economic policies if coronavirus gets under control?
I think they can do what they can to stimulate their economy. They end up devaluing their currency as a result. The problem is the contagion, economic contagion in other parts of the world who are trading partners with China. And the other problem is the uncertainty. So if businesses don't know where they're going to get their parts from and they have to start scrambling around the planet to find them elsewhere, I think that becomes the bigger problem for business in the years to come, perhaps.
Yeah, and they can shift some of the production to Cambodia or Vietnam, some of the other low-cost countries, but a lot of the raw materials still come from China, and they have been turning on the spigots, trying to spend to get out of the downturn.
Is that then a wake-up call, Mitch, for companies, especially American companies, to think, what should we do to protect ourselves here?
Well, in the 2 years of trade war, a lot of American companies went to Cambodia, went to Bangladesh, went to Vietnam. The problem is there isn't capacity in those countries to the scale that China has to manufacture all of this stuff. And the textile industry has gone to those countries for probably about 10 years because they're worried about IP theft. So the fact of the matter is they may not be able to, and you're going to have to go back to China because that's where the manufacturing capacity is.
It's fascinating, and it has an effect all around the world. And of course, we feel for the people that are in quarantine and those that are suffering. Thank you so much, Susan Lee, Mitch Rochelle. Thank you.